What's the last year been like for you?
It has been kind of an emotional roller coaster because I know that, with life, I'm doing what Dad would want me to do and to move forward and to, enjoy life and enjoy all the blessings that I've been given. So I've been doing that. I've been continuing to coach. I had my second baby girl, 6 months after Dad had passed, actually to the day. It was August 16th. Dad had passed February 16th. And, you know, there's been a lot of joy that has happened, just a lot of great things, but it's been sad not to have Dad with me and my family, different things that he can enjoy too. So it's hard. I'm not with somebody who, is around that I love very much and that supported me my whole life and somebody who I love to hang out with and spend time with. And that's my wonderful dad. So it's just been up and down. And it's just crazy to think that this Saturday is already going to be a year that he's been gone.
You guys were, you had a very special father-daughter relationship. It seemed that almost like a friendship more than your
Yes.
typical father-daughter relationship. Could you talk a bit about that?
Yes. We were, the whole, when I was back in middle school, those ages, I think all parents want to pass that age because that's the age where we feel like us middle schoolers know everything. And so we had that relationship where I was like, Dad, you don't know what you're talking about, and things like that on the field, which obviously he knew. He knew very well how to coach. But I was just getting into fast pitch when I was 14, and so he started to coach me when fast pitch just came around. Like I said, I started at a very late age. I did the T-ball thing, slow pitch thing, but fast pitch wasn't until 14. And he had told me, encouraged me to be a catcher. And that's where it all started. And I put his gear on and, he taught me to be the catcher that I became and then encouraged me to also start coaching. And, then we had that relationship there where, he was the Palm Beach Atlantic baseball coach and I was the softball coach. And this is my seventh year this year, and this would have been Dad's fourth year. His third year, he was sick, and then so he was able to coach for 2 years strong. But our relationship was very strong. I mean, it wasn't just about the game. I mean, it wasn't just about baseball and softball. That was definitely a very fun part of our relationship as far as just talking strategy and talking about the game and that kind of stuff. But it was also just that we loved each other. I mean, there's three kids in the family. I'm one of three, and then of course my mom, and so I mean our family in general are just extremely close, and we just like to spend time together. And and when people tell me that, they remind me, I remind them of my dad. It's a very big compliment because I think my dad's great. So it's so we had a very, very good relationship, one that I'll always treasure.
I imagine that it was your father's deep faith and devotion that allowed you to find that as well, right?
Oh, absolutely. My parents raised us in a Christian home. We went to church. We prayed together. We certainly weren't the perfect family, but there's no such thing as the perfect family. But yes, our everyday life centered around the Lord and our biblical foundation, and that was extremely important to us. And we still do that even in our own homes. I'm married now with two daughters, and my sister has her husband and her two sons, and then my brother just got married 4 days after Christmas, this past Christmas. And, we're all starting our own families and continuing on those traditions. And that's something that we know that family and relationships together is having the Lord in our life. And so that's definitely been something that's been extremely important to us and that we will always carry on, because that's just the number one thing that we consider very important for us.
Well, it was also something that I imagine helped you greatly through your dad's illness.
Absolutely. Well, I know that the world was able to read Caring Bridge. That was something that became such an amazing tool because the media and friends and family members all were able to read that and get updates weekly about Dad's sickness and what was going on with us as a family. And you'll see on every single Caring Bridge site, every single entry that I wrote, there was verses that backed up how I felt and how our family felt and what we were going through and how we were getting through the struggles and through the storm that we were in. And so without a doubt, we are getting through what we're getting through, not only when Dad was sick, but now that he's gone. we are getting through it because of our faith in the Lord and because of our biblical foundations and because we know where Dad is, and we know that with our relationship with the Lord that, that we are going to see him again someday. And so we have that hope, and that's where Dad had pure peace from the moment he got sick. He had peace the entire time he was sick because he knew that if this fight was not going to be one that we all were fighting for, was for him to beat this, he knew where he would be, and he would be called home to the Lord.
The Caring Bridge website is something that a lot of families use and find quite therapeutic. What was that process like for you, Kimmy?
Well, it all started off when my dad was first, when we first found the tumors down here in Florida. We knew that we were having to make a trip up to Duke, and at the time, I was able to be the only kid to go up there. And so I went up there with my mom and dad, and we ended up being up there for 11 days. But we went up there, and basically it was, a way for me to, first of all, share it with first family and friends. So instead of people calling and texting and all that kind of stuff, we were dealing with so much that we figured, well, we'll go ahead and, I'll go ahead and write on this website, and then people can just log in. And then it became such a nationwide, even worldwide thing that we just let people have access, anybody to have access, because in the media, nobody bothered us. The whole 9 months that Dad was sick, we didn't get anybody to bother us, or, all the information that was out in the newspapers and out in the magazines and everything were all true because everybody quoted, exactly what I wrote. And the experience was, I would say, very therapeutic because that's my major. I was an English major. That's something that I like to do, is I like to write. I never thought that my type of writing would be, publicly shown so much, but it became such a blessing for me. It became a blessing for my family, for my dad, because we were very real, and we let everybody on the journey with us, and let everybody to know what was going on, how to pray for us, how to pray for my dad, and 1,000%, those words were not mine. Not everybody is a believer, but I will tell you now that those were not my words. Those were completely Lord using me, and those were his words that he wanted to very much share with the world.
One of the things that you wrote, and I'm going to read a quote back to you from the final
Okay.
update that you wrote on the Caring Bridge website. "Thank you for loving
Yes.
my dad and my entire family. I will still share with you all the last 4 weeks because they were incredibly special." What was
Yeah.
that last month like?
Basically, what happened is the moment that the doctor had come over, he told us that Dad had, I think it was 3 to 5 weeks to live, and we were all told that in my parents' family room. And my dad's reaction was, "Well, that wasn't the news we wanted to hear." All calm like that, and he, I don't think he knew where that state was because he was very much, very much getting closer to his time. But we, when I say it was a special last 4 weeks, I will say it was very difficult for Dad. He never knew it was difficult for the most part because he wasn't 100% really aware of everything. There were days he was aware and other days he was not. But my brother had a big impact. He was physically able to help Dad because there weren't moments where Dad could get up or, walk or anything like that. And we had a night nurse come and stay with us to help Dad. And, so physically and emotionally, that part wasn't very fun to see because Dad had more than like a cough growing up. He was never sick or never hurt or anything like that. So that was definitely different for us to see. But we just all rallied as a family, and we spent just extreme quality time together. And it was just something that we'll always treasure. It's specific details. There's not like, certain things that happen that, are just this big old story, except I know that February 8th was the last evening my dad was staying at my parents' house, and that was my parents' 37th wedding anniversary, and we ordered food from their favorite restaurant that they went to every year for their anniversary, and we ate it at home. And then we watched my wedding video, my sister's wedding video, my brother's, birthday parties and different things sorry, that's my baby background.
That's all right. That's great.
But, we just watched videos together and just, laughed and cried and all that kind of stuff. But just really the last 4 weeks was just spending time together and just making Dad as comfortable as possible because it really wasn't was not an easy part of those last 4 weeks, and the details are tough to hear as far as what he had to go through, but never complained, and he was always, very positive, and just he, allowed us to take care of him, and he had taken care of us for so many years in other ways, and this was our way to say, Dad, we love you, and there's no way you're going to do this alone. And so, that's kind of the sum of the 4 weeks that we had experienced. And then other things too, like his best friend from California came down, and then, and other friends, and his brother came down, and, and we knew those were all the last times that they would see him. And so those were just other special moments, very tough moments, but special moments that, wonderful people that loved him were able to spend good time with him, for the last time.
The final ball game that he attended at Palm Beach University, I know a lot of those photos were disseminated in the press, and that must have been an incredibly emotional moment.
Yeah, it was. He went there, and it was the most emotional thing because we started off in left field, and he was sitting on a golf cart. The guys were getting ready for the game, and it was, pre-game, and they were, kind of throwing the ball around and things like that, getting ready. And Dad was in the golf cart, and he was riding from left field to right field. And all of a sudden, as he was about to approach right field, his players literally were dropping gloves, dropping balls, dropping bats, doing whatever it took to drop everything and run over to him. And so you see this entire team running over. And I remember, too, when Dad was in the cart as he was driving over. And again, this is 2 weeks before he passed, so he was there, but a lot of him was also not 100%. But if you saw the look in his eyes as he saw that baseball field that he was riding on, it's like he was home. It was like you could just see this big smile on his face as he was on that park and on that field. And of course, he was very blown up from the medication and everything. But I tell you, here he is 2 weeks before he passes, and he knew every single player's name. He shook their hands. He said, "Go get them, boys," and go out with the big win, and they did. And then right before the game started, they put him on the golf cart again, and there was just a big standing ovation before the game started. So it was it was very emotional, and it's very hard to watch that video, but he was the happiest he had been by being out on that field. And interestingly enough, the very next day when he said, "Dad, wasn't that special?" he actually didn't even remember it. I mean, that's just kind of how his brain was. It was just moments where he was on his A game and knew people and knew what was going on, and then other moments where he didn't because of the tumors.
We're in conversation with Kimmy Blomers-Carter on the Kaufman Show, Dave Kaufman and Jay Farrar.
Kimmy, I'm sure you're well aware of a lot of young boys in Montreal grew up idolizing your dad in the late 70s.
And girls, too.
And girls, too, yeah. And
Yeah.
In the late 70s and early 80s, including my brother, who became a catcher just because of your dad. Later on, he was seen at your dad's last game here in Montreal holding a sign up, that famous sign, behind him while your dad listened to the national anthem. Later on, my brother became a kind of a music guy here in this city and did a tribute to your dad just recently. I was wondering if you heard it and what you thought. The Anakin Slade, that's my brother.
Okay. Well, yes, I did, and I did not realize that that was your brother, but no, I know exactly who he is, and I mean, obviously through the internet, I've gotten to know him through his beautiful song that he wrote about my dad and that wonderful set of pictures and everything. And I think he also sang up there when my mom and brother went up to
That's right.
Canada.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah, it was a special tribute up there too. No, it was beautiful. And I mean, gosh, all these tributes, you type in and you Google Gary Carter and YouTube, all these beautiful things come up, and and articles, and it's been overwhelming in a very positive way. And I'm just so incredibly grateful and thankful that I had a dad that just was so wonderful, that he was just such a nice person to other people, and he was so genuine, and that people want to talk about him, and they want to be like him, and they want to, remember him. And gosh, I can't ask for a better dad that I got to have for my 32 years of life.
You got to share, or you were almost forced to share him with fans, with media, with so many people throughout your whole life. Was there a point growing up where that felt like a burden to you?
Well, there's actually a funny story. My mom and dad would tell me when I was little, I was very bold, and I guess I'm still that way now. I have that, very bold personality. But I guess like we'd get dinner sometimes, and different fans would come up, and I would very clearly say, "He's my dad. We're eating dinner," and like that kind of stuff. Like I'd have no problem telling people, get out of the way. I'm with my family. But I mean, growing up though, what a fun lifestyle. I don't know any other way, but the fast pace and people banging on the car doors and Gary, we love you, and all that stuff is a lot of fun. We had fan mail, and it's just a lot of fun to think about how many people idolize your dad. And of course there were moments where I'm like, okay, enough already, not baseball. Let's go play like a game of Monopoly, and let's just whatever. But we were just a very normal family, and I think actually normal, but yet abnormal in the celebrity world, because my parents were together. They were high school sweethearts. They were committed to each other. We had a strong love for the Lord. We were a great family, and we traveled everywhere together. We would leave about 2 months early from school every year, and we would finish our school wherever Dad was, and we supported him throughout his career. And, that kind of stuff I'll treasure forever. We were just very, very, very close to the family, and we still are. I know we don't have Dad, but if it wasn't for my mom and Dad's first foundation and us learning about what true love is and what it takes to be a great family, now we're able to instill that in our own family. And I'll just always treasure that and be forever grateful.
Kimmy, were you born in Montreal?
I was born in Montreal in 1980, October 6, 1980. And yeah, that was Expo. So I'm the only Canadian. Well, I'm American, but I was born in Canada. Out of the 3 kids, I was the only one.
Now, you were obviously quite young when he was traded to the Mets, but you must have some memories of coming back here for your dad's final season.
Oh, yeah. That was, I want to say 91 or 92. Yeah, I do remember it. We used to live in this, cute place up, I don't even know where the specifics were, but I just really liked it. I remember I was very much wanting to learn French, and, the people are so kind up there, and, they do. I feel like my dad was like the god of Canada or something. I don't know what you want to call it, but he was very much loved. I should say it that way, that he was just the face of Canada. And that was really cool to be, the daughter of somebody that people love so much. So I felt like I automatically, had this wonderful family and an entire country, because they loved my dad so much. So
it must have been wild to see things like a billboard on the highway with your dad's face on it.
Oh, absolutely. But all growing up though, you have to remember, I even had spiral notebooks and folders with my dad on them. So I'd go to school, and that would be normal for me to have lunch boxes of Dad, or I'd have, things like that. So, all that it's just how it was. But yeah, Canada, they didn't mess around. They loved Gary Carter, and it was very evident. And we felt loved. We felt very welcome. My mom will say over and over again, the 11 years were just unbelievable being part of the Expos. He loves those years.
The relationship felt very reciprocal, though. He always made an effort in this city and with the fans here, even just something as simple as trying to speak a few words of French.
He would go to a French teacher here in Florida, and he wanted to learn French, and he did that out of respect for being an Expo. And I remember that. And he knew the entire Canada, I guess you guys call it the national anthem, or do you call it what do you call it?
Yeah, it's our national anthem, Oh Canada.
Okay. Oh, Canada. Yeah, he knew that in French, and he very much wanted to be a part of whatever but this is how my personality is too, and I guess my whole family is. But if you are a part of something, you go 100%. If you want something, you go 100%, and that's how Dad was. If he was a part of the Expos, so he wanted to be as much, in that Canada world as possible, and so yeah, he embraced it. He embraces that kind of stuff, and he loved being up there, and he had great memories that he would share with us all the time.
I have a few questions about things that happened in your dad's career. I'm wondering if you could comment on
Okay.
his last game in Montreal.
I was 90. Well, I think it was 91 or 92. I'm trying to remember when he retired. Was it 93 when he retired or 92?
I think it was
I think
92.
I was. Yeah, I think I was 11. He when he was there, and I remember that very much. I remember the hit over Andre Dawson's head. I remember the big old, fist pump at second base. I remember him being so fired up. And the joke was always, if Dad had a good game, we would go home with Dad, and then if Dad had a bad game, we would go home with Mom. It depended on who we went home with after the game. So I think we definitely went home with Dad after that game because he was pretty excited. But no, it was. I mean, yeah, I totally remember that. I'm telling you, I remember too when we had when Dad retired, and you guys had that amazing ceremony, and we his number was retired, and we pulled that big banner down, and we were all holding hands, walking from home to left field, and that was. I mean, well, if anybody saw a video of me, I was the one that was bawling my eyes out the whole time because I'm an all or nothing kind of person. So I was pretty emotional, but yeah, I mean that's two memories for sure that I'll never forget. Very, very special.
The other one would be Cooperstown.
Yes, Cooperstown. But I was actually going to say one more thing as far as
Sure.
Canada. But I remember him getting into the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame, and that was another unbelievable thing. I mean, the crowd of people and the people that were just so respecting my family and just so excited. I think I got a little extra attention because they knew that I was born in Canada. So I think out of the three kids, I got a little extra smile. But Cooperstown. I mean, my goodness, that was an unbelievable experience. The words that my dad said, I actually, since Dad has passed, that's been giving me the most comfort is watching his Hall of Fame speech over and over again because he was able to share, in his words to me, words to my brother, words to my sister, words to my mom and friends and family. And I'm able to hear that over and over again, him telling me, I love you, kiddo. I'm proud of you. I'm, all those things. And I knew that, but since I can't hear his voice anymore, now I can hear it, anytime I want to on YouTube. But that was an amazing experience. Just, I'm still in awe, actually, after this many years, that my dad's a Major League Baseball player, Baseball Hall of Famer, one of the best catchers ever. And, because I think it's so mind-boggling because my dad was my dad, and he acted like an amazing dad and did not treat us, that he was too much, like he was better than other people. He was a genuine human being, and I think it just still mind boggles me that he, did all that he did, and that he's considered famous. It's still at this age, I still am like, oh yeah, Dad was pretty awesome. Oh yeah, I forgot how much he did. So yeah, but I mean, so many memories. I mean, I'll say over and over again that if it wasn't for my mom and dad, obviously, I would not have the life that I have now. I mean, just for many, many reasons. But they together made this amazing team, and I'm blown away, and I'm incredibly blessed that I had Gary Carter as my dad, and then I'm continuing to have Sandy Carter as my mom.
The city of Montreal announced about 6 months ago that they'll be naming a street after your dad. It's a street that's adjacent to Jerry Park, where he first broke into the big leagues. Will your family be making it up for when the street is named for him?
Yes. Apparently, they haven't given us a date yet, but we told them that the first weekend of May works the best for us, but we still haven't heard confirmation. But if it is the first weekend of May, our whole family will be up there.
Oh, that would
so we're
be,
hoping it's the first weekend of May. If anybody's listening to that,
we'll see what strings we can pull. Finally, and I want to thank you again for your time tonight. We really, really appreciate it.
Yeah.
How will Gary Carter, the person, not the player, be remembered?
Well, from me, he'll be remembered as my dad, my amazing dad who loved me, who cared for me, who supported me, encouraged me, was one of my best cheerleaders when I was a player. A man of the Lord, loved Jesus, loved his wife, was committed to his family and his wife. And I don't know, I just can't say enough things about him. He's what anybody can imagine their, hero could be like. That's what my dad is. My dad was. He lived his life genuinely. He was an honest man. He worked so hard, and it was all about family. It was all about, what can I do for my family? And so I'm, I could brag about him forever. He is my dad, but not everybody can say that about their dad. But I know for me, I could talk about him forever, and I get very emotional thinking about, that he's not here, but I know where he is, and I know that he's watching over me and my family, and he's just remembered for so many great things, and he lived a life more than I think 10 people combined could have lived, and the things that he did for people and the community and the way he loved others. I'm thankful that I can remember him and then try every day to be more like him, as I grow up.